Hello, Wrestling fans out there, and welcome to Triple Threat Wrestling Radio, right here on itmiradio.com. It is I, your boy Kenny C. Thank you all for listening. Want to say hello to my good friend Andrew, aka Browning Master, and I also want to say hello to Rocket Man, who I know from the NowLife.com days. Alright, so yes, Rocket Man, I do remember you. Good to hear from you, man. Hope all's well with you. Yeah, I've been doing this wrestling show since late April, and I still do Chilling with Jeff and Kenny C, which, by the way, has its 4-year anniversary, and it has the 200 show this coming Saturday. So that's good. We're still doing that show, Jeff and I. Speaking of Jeff, he didn't do his show earlier tonight, the Red Bastard Sports Show, and I tried to send him a message via Skype to see if he was going to co-host with me tonight, but he obviously not responding to me, so he must be away from the computer. And yeah, there will be no Jeff this evening. Jeff will not be joining me, so I am solo. I am on my own this evening for the next 60 plus minutes for your wrestling talk, WWE and Impact. So thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Walker Man, and thank you everyone else that's listening. Alright, without further ado, let's get to the WWE portion of the show. And we start off with the text message of Kevin Nash. Now, Kevin Nash's text message has become the most talked about text message since Brett Favre. And we do not need to go through what happened with Brett Favre and his text message. Allegedly, of course. That's according to Brett Favre. At least Kevin Nash admit he had a text message. At least Kevin Nash didn't give me the old I attacked CM Punk because I wanted to. He had someone send him a text message. Triple H, to this day, still said he had nothing to do with it. He did not send Nash the text message. So the two finally get to talk in the ring, face to face, making sure they're on the same page. And apparently they are. That is until CM Punk got involved. Yes, I did say Brett Favre, Andrew. We don't need to go there. But Kevin Nash said that it was all business. But he doesn't know who to text from. Obviously, whatever phone he has didn't give him an ID. It gave him a number. Maybe if he would have told us what the area code's from, we'd probably get a good idea. But that would be too creepy. And wrestling fans would be Googling phone numbers and stuff. So I understand what they're trying to do. No, here's the difference between Kevin Nash and Brett Favre, Andrew. Kevin Nash got a text from someone. There was reports saying that Brett Favre sent inappropriate text message. He did the sending of the text message. See, Kevin Nash received a text message. Big difference. Kevin Nash was received with a text message. Brett Favre send a text message. Big difference. But as I continue here, CM Punk wants to get the bottom of this once and for all. He wants to know who sent the text message. Triple H said that he had nothing to do with it. Maybe John Laurinaitis has something to do with it, because the same John Laurinaitis who later that night on Raw, he told Triple H that Kevin Nash was in a so-called car accident. Gave him the hospital, gave him the address, Go there, check on your friend, see if he's okay. Because let's face it, Kevin Nash can't be walking around acting like he's a superstar. Last time I checked, he's not even under contract. At least through the storyline, of course. And if he was under contract, he's not even clear to wrestle as of yet. But back to Laurinaitis. He told Triple H Kevin Nash got into a car accident and he wants him to check on your friend, see if he's okay. Apparently Kevin Nash is fine. As a matter of fact, when he got involved in the Cena versus Punk match, he didn't look injured. He didn't look banged up. He looked fine. No bruises, no wounds, no nothing. He's okay. So let the suspicion begin. Is John Laurinaitis lied to Triple H? Is John Laurinaitis the one that sent the text message? Think about this for a minute. Maybe Kevin Nash really knows who sent the text message, but he's not saying. But he's just keeping Laurinaitis under the rug, so to speak. Laurinaitis lied to Triple H, said that Kevin Nash was hurt, was in the hospital. He wasn't even hurt at all if you saw Monday Night Raw this past Monday night. So, Kevin Nash gets involved in CM Punk's business. He doesn't attack him on Raw like he did at SummerSlam, but distracted him long enough for John Cena to get the attitude adjustment. And John Cena ends up winning the match, becomes the number one contender. And Alberto Del Rio goes on to attack Cena afterwards. It's Thursday and I'm actually home. Hey Kenny, what's going on, Evo? Thank you for listening. You know, there's too much testosterone in this chat room, so I'm glad we got a female in here. Jeff is not here with me. He's working. He's busy. He didn't even do his own show tonight, so he's not here with me this evening. So you would think, how does CM Punk goes from having two great main events against John Cena, and now he may not even be in the pay-per-view at Night of Champions, because remember, every single championship match is going to be on the line at Night of Champions. So either you're a champion or you contend for a championship. How does that happen? And Kevin Nash is not yet to clear to wrestle yet. You know, he's not even cleared to wrestle yet. He's not even under contract through the storyline, of course. And Triple H keeps saying he has nothing to do with it. And then when Triple H and CM Punk went at it on Monday Night Raw verbally, I was waiting for the Cerebral Assassin to pop up. I was like, come on, Triple H. He's talking about you. He's talking about your wife. Talking about you ain't got no balls and all that. I was waiting for the Cerebral Assassin to pop up. Not the COO. I was waiting for the Cerebral Assassin to pop up. I was waiting for him to strike a punch at CM Punk. Because let's face it, CM Punk just knows how to get under people's skin. It's funny. It's very funny. I was just anxiously waiting. I hate to say this. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Triple H fan, but the game has gone soft. He's gone corporate. You know, talking about, I promised the board directors that I'm not going to get involved physically. Hell, Vince McMahon was in charge and he got involved physically, even though he ain't the best gifted wrestler in the world. He knows if you cross the balls, he was going to get involved physically. Ask Steve Austin, ask Triple H himself. Evo goes on to say, I honestly haven't watched wrestling in a bit. Not a fan of CM Punk. Don't really care about the douche. Yeah, CM Punk. How does he goes from having three great matches with Cena, and now he may not even be in the Night of Champions pay-per-view because Night of Champions only for champions match only. And since Punk lost the number one contenders match to Cena, then that pretty much puts him out of the title picture for the time being. And speaking of championships, finally some tag team championships switch hands. Uh Tag team champions. New tag team champions are Evan Bourne and Kofi Kingston. Finally, a brother wins. But then again, the other tag team champion, David Otunga, aka Mr. Jennifer Hudson. But Jared King Lawler was right. Those guys, Michael McGillicuddy and David Otunga, they ain't done jack to get their sense notice in the WWE. Okay? They were part of the Nexus, and then when CM Punk went on to do his own thing, they were an afterthought. I mean, they were an afterthought to begin with, but at least they were relevant because they were with CM Punk and he was the leader of the Nexus. But now that Punk went on to do his own thing, I mean, they become an afterthought. They've been the tag team champions since late May, and they lose the belts to Bourne and Kingston. Kofi Kingston is now a two-time tag team champion, and for the first time in his WWE career, Evan Bourne is a champion. Congrats are long overdue. Congrats overdue to Evan Bourne. He's fun to watch. He doesn't talk a lot, but he's just out there to compete. And that airborne move, that shooting star press, very impressive. And now, Evan Bourne and Kofi Kingston are putting it in the hands of the WWE Universe to come up with a name for the tag team. Kofi Kingston said maybe the team should be called Thriller Instinct. Or maybe Air Boom. You know, Air as in Evan's nickname, and Boom as one of Kofi's finishing moves, the Boom Drop. So, they are reaching out to fans on Twitter to come up with a name for the tag team. And Evan Bourne said that he and Kofi are going to bring back the tag team division. Good luck with that. The tag team division hasn't been relevant since the Attitude Era. Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, Dudley Boys. Yeah, remember those three teams? And I'm talking about Christian with the long hair. I'm not talking about Christian with today with the short hair. When they actually look alike. Edge and Christian, if you think about it, they kind of look alike, to tell you the truth. When they both had the long hair. You know, obviously, Christian being called an Edge wannabe had to switch it up. Went with the short hair. You know. But the tag team division has not been relevant for a very, very long time. And maybe with Bourne and Kingston being the tag team champions, they can get things up and running. Speaking of tag teams, how about this for a tag team? The Miz and that crazy ass R-Truth being a tag team. This past Monday, they attacked Santina Marella. What happened to The Miz? I mean, a few months ago, he was main eventing WrestleMania. Now, he gone for fighting with the Subway guy, Jared Fogle. And R-Truth, well, he's R-Truth. Conspiracy. C-O-N-spiracy. The more I want to hate R-Truth, the more I can't get enough of him. He is a great heel. I don't know if he's coming up with this stuff by himself or is it scripted. But whatever it is, keep him a heel for a long time. He may actually go places. Now, they were at Canada this past Monday night. Speaking of John Cena, and this is only the second time that I've seen this happen. Normally, John Cena takes off his shirt, gets ready for the match, goes into the crowd. Then a fan throws the shirt right back at John Cena. Now, if you think about it, if that happened to a baseball game, someone hits a home run from the visiting team, and you throw the ball right back into the infield, you get kicked off the game. This is the second time that John Cena has thrown the shirt into the crowd, and then someone from the crowd threw it right back at him. Obviously, a CM Punk fan. So you have to do it to a Cena fan. Make sure he gets it. Remember, the last time that happened was back in 2006. ECW One Night Stand. He threw his shirt to the crowd multiple times, and multiple times the crowd threw it right back at him. That was a hostile environment. That was the most hostile environment I've ever seen in a WWE pay-per-view. That wasn't a WWE pay-per-view. That was an ECW pay-per-view, ECW territory at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York against Rob Van Dam. But Cena, of course, went on to win that match against Del Rio on Monday. He's now the number one contender. CM Punk now has to deal with Kevin Nash more. Let's see. And speaking of tag teams, now, if there was a Diva tag team, you probably put Beth Phoenix and Natalya on top of the chain. And maybe Eve and Kelly as the second team. Crowd, what R-Truth, don't you what me? I'm telling you, R-Truth has become a funny heel. He's doing a good job as a heel. Gotta give the man his props. You know, the last time he was a heel was in his days with TNA. And that was like way before Impact became what it is today. But yeah, obviously, just because Kelly defeated Beth Phoenix at SummerSlam doesn't mean that the Divas of Doom are done with the champion. 2 weeks in a row, Kelly wins a match. Divas of Doom comes in, gives the champion a round of applause, gives them that stir look on their faces and the typical golf clap. It was the golf clap. They gave Kelly the golf clap. But then again, how many times have Kelly defeated the Bella Twins? It's down to the point where it's pretty damn pathetic. But it's pretty obvious at Night of Champions, one of those two ladies are gonna face each other. For one of these two ladies, I should say, are gonna face Kelly for that Divas Championship. The question is who? Is it gonna be Beth Phoenix? Is it gonna be Natalya? Or is it gonna be them both? Speaking of champions, Sticky Icky Vicky Guerrero not getting along very well with her so-called business partner Dolph Ziggler, to the point that Jack Swagger last Monday night asked for Vicky's managerial service, to be a manager, to be on his side. And that's what happened this past Monday night. Swagger competed against Alex Riley. Vicky Guerrero was in his corner. U.S. champion Dolph Ziggler didn't take that very likely, so he came in, tripped Vicky Guerrero, caused a distraction. Alex Riley wins. Now remember, Dolph Ziggler is the United States champion, and with the Night of Champions pay-per-view coming up, you gotta wonder, is this gonna be a triple threat match between Ziggler, Swagger, and Riley for that U.S. gold? Think long and hard about that. let's get on to the SmackDown side a little bit. Of course, there was a legacy reunion between Orton, Rhodes, and DiBiase. Of course, Orton as the World Heavyweight Champion and Cody Rhodes as the Intercontinental Champion. And my computer just draw blank. So I can't see the chat room at a second. Okay, there we go. That's what happens when you don't type or move the mouse a little bit. I gotta do that. So I had a slight blank in the computer there. But here we go. It seems like Cody Rhodes is finally starting to move up these singles ranks now that he's in a Continental Champion. However, Ted DiBiase keeps getting beat up. I mean, this is the son of the $1 Million Man. Talk about disgracing the family name, for peeps' sake. You gotta wonder, what's Ted? Randy Orton has done pretty good. He had a good career before Legacy, and he has a good career right after. He's an 8-time, and he's a current World Heavyweight Champion. So, and last week on this show, it was me, Kenny C, predicted that Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, was going to be next in line for that World Heavyweight Championship. And look what happened, folks. Look what happened. Mark Henry beat 19 other men to win the Battle Royal. And now he is the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. And it looks like that match may be taking place at the Night of Champions as well. It hasn't been confirmed as of yet, but it probably will be announced. According to WWE.com, SmackDown will be in Calgary, Alberta, Canada tomorrow night. And I guess who's going to be the general manager in his hometown? None other than WWE Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart. That means Teddy Long is going to take the night off. I guess. He's going to be there. He's probably too busy flirting with that Asana girl. For those who don't know, that girl with the black hair been trying to flirt with Teddy Long for the last couple of weeks. That's the blonde-haired girl who was on NXT season 3, I believe it was. She used to be blonde hair, now she's a black hair. And for some odd, weird reason, I kind of like this new black hair Oksana. The blonde hair just made her look like a typical Dawn blonde, but the black hair Oksana, whoo, she's a keeper. I don't know what Teddy Long doing. I mean, he's supposed to be the Mac Matalented, Mr. Holla Holla Holla. But he just, every time Oksana comes in, he's not Teddy Long. He's just a sad little puppy. I mean, the guy sprung over this woman. I would rather her be the assistant general assistant than that annoying Zack Ryder. Yes. I would rather her be the assistant than that annoying Zack Ryder, Mr. Woo 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 Kid. Somehow the woo 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 in me starting to wear off of Zack Ryder. You know, just stick to doing the internet shows. Oh my goodness. I would rather Oksana be the assistant than Zack Ryder. No offense, Zack. Just go back to doing YouTube videos, man. Yeah, I'm sure you would, Andrew. Yeah. I think every man in this chat room would. I think Jeff even. No, I doubt Jeff would really like her that much, but the only show he watched for WWE is Raw. He doesn't even watch SmackDown. Speaking of SmackDown, it's going to be live Tuesday night next week on August the 30th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We all know SmackDown is taped on Tuesdays and then televised on Fridays. But SmackDown of next week will be on Tuesday, and then the Encore will be on Friday later that week. So you got Raw Monday next week, Tuesday SmackDown, NXT on WWE.com, Superstars on Thursday. So there you go. It's gonna be called Super SmackDown. And you gotta wonder, is that when Mark Henry's gonna get his shot at the title, or are they gonna wait till Night of Champions? We have to wait and see on that one. Daniel Bryan, Mr. Money in the Bank, losing to Alberto Del Rio. You know, Daniel Bryan need to step it up. He lost to Alberto Del Rio twice. He's been in the funk since winning that Money in the Bank briefcase. He lost to Ray Barrett at SummerSlam, and he has lost to Alberto Del Rio twice. Step your game up, Daniel Bryan. Step your game up. Or as Booker T likes to refer to him as, my dog D. Bryan. That's my dog right there, D. Bryan. And not sure if y'all noticed or not, but on SummerSlam, you had Michael Cole, you had Jerry Lawler, and you had Booker T. No Jim Ross. He was not at SummerSlam doing the commentary. So, no offense to Booker T, and that's one of my favorite wrestlers, and I think he's doing a good job as a commentator. But I would much rather have JR and the King. You know, no offense to Booker, but JR, he just, I don't know. It's just something's not right. JR should be in the pay-per-views, not Booker T. You're gonna have the annoying Michael Cole. Of course, you get Jerry the King Lawler, and you gotta have Jim Ross, not Booker T. I like Booker T, but I gotta get that Boomer Sumer. I gotta have, Slobberknocker. I mean, not no, my dog D. Bryan. Not no, my Fave 5. I'm sorry. I want Jim Ross on the pay-per-views doing the commentary over Booker T. I think every wrestling fan will agree. No disrespect to Book, 6-time world champion, but hey, pay-per-views, commentary, you either have Jim Ross or it's going to be a problem. You got to have Jim Ross on the announce table for the pay-per-views. He's going to be there on Monday nights. But obviously, Jerry King. But then again, you got to get someone representing SmackDown. And I guess that's the only reason why. I mean, Cole, Lawler, and Ross represents Raw. I mean, Cole does represent SmackDown as well. So you got that going out. Jerry, so you got to at least get 2 people representing Raw. Then it's on SmackDown. Because we all know that Jim Ross and Jerry King Lawler, regardless of what brand they on, they do big things together. They do big things together. That's just my opinion. And Andrew in the chat room saying that Michael Cole is going to be playable for the upcoming WWE 12 video game that's coming out later this year. WWE revealed the roster of the people that's going to be in the video game. That's coming out later this year. I heard that they are determined who's going to be in the cover. It's either going to be John Cena or The Rock. So go to WWE.com and vote for who you think should be on the cover of the WWE 12 video game. Team Bring It or Team C Nation. It's up to you, the fans. Game's coming out October or November. I don't know the exact date on the top of my head, but I know it's coming right around before or after It's probably going to be before Thanksgiving. So it'll probably come out in November. Early November at least. So there you go, your WWE portion right there. We now get to the midpoint of the show, and since we don't have an interview tonight, we can get to the next segment, This Day in Wrestling History, and then we'll get to our Impact portion. There's a lot of news on Impact. Clemson going up against Kurt Angle tonight. Mr. Undefeated versus the World Heavyweight Champion, Kurt Angle. Andrew is saying it's November 22nd. That's obviously before Thanksgiving. Thank you, Andrew, for the confirmation there. Let's go ahead and get to our midpoint segment when we don't have an interview. We're going to get to this day in wrestling history on August the 25th. Events in 2002, WWE SummerSlam saw the final defense of the Undisputed Championship. And the first match for Shawn Michaels since WrestleMania 17, 18, something like that. It was held in Uniondale, New York. And what featured in this SummerSlam 2002, the Un-Americans, Lance Storm and Christian, defeated Booker T and Goldust to retain the tag team titles. While Van Dam defeated the late Chris Benoit to win the Intercontinental title, Shawn Michaels defeated Triple H in an unsanctioned street fight. Who could ever forget that? And Brock Lesnar defeats The Rock to win the Undisputed Championship. I say this day and age, it makes no sense to call Alberto Del Rio or CM Punk or anyone. It makes no sense to have be called the Undisputed Champion when you have another world champion who's on SmackDown. How does that make Randy Orton feel? Whatever happened to equality, damn it. On to some title changes on August 25th. In 1991, Sting defeats Steve Austin in the final of a tournament to win the vacant NWA United States title. In 2001, Booker T and Test defeated the Brothers of Destruction to win the WCW Tag Team titles. Happy birthday to three-time NWA Tag Team Champion David Young, who turns 39 years old, and one-time WWF World Champion Ivan Koloff turns 69 years old. Also, today would have been the birthday of Mike Lockwood, aka Crash Holly, who is a 22-time hardcore championship. Andrew, what I was saying is, on Monday Night Raw they call it the Undisputed Championship since, there's only one champion. And yet Randy Orton, he's the World Heavyweight Champion. He's not called the Undisputed World Heavyweight Champion. You should just at least call the championship on Raw the WWE Championship. Don't just call it Undisputed. This isn't 2002. That's all I'm saying. It has nothing to do with who has the championship. It's what the championship is called. That's just me. In memoriam, on this day, August 25th, 2005, Wrestling World lost one-time WWF Tag Team Champion Ed Moondog King White at the age of 56. Mainstream wrestling career affected ended his mainstream wrestling career ended when he was denied entry to the U.S. from Canada in the early 80s. He continued wrestling Canadian indies in the following years through failing health restricted his appearances. He also unsuccessfully tried for Canadian Congress in 2000 and 2004. He suffered serious injuries in car accident later that year, leaving him on life support until his death. And that is all what happened on this day in wrestling history on August the 25th, which is today's date. Now, we can now get to the Impact portion of the show. Starting off with Matt Hardy being released by TNA this past week. Matt Hardy, he similar to his younger brother Jeff Hardy. We all know the Hardy boys are crazy, reckless, troublemakers in the ring, where they've proven to do just that outside the ring. Speaking of the Hardys, Jeff Hardy will be making his return to Impact tonight. But Matt Hardy, he no longer under contract with Impact. He's been cut following his DWI arrest. And for those who was on Twitter, I think 2 nights ago, Matt Hardy tweeted his girlfriend Reba Sky his phone number, or a number that looked like to appear to be his phone number, but Reba said that wasn't actually his phone number. Now either his account was hacked, or either his account got hacked, or he was drunk. Obviously he had the DWI arrest, and that was the last straw for Dixie Carter and Impact, so they gave him the boot. He had to go. But they keeping Jeff Hardy around for the time being, and we all know Jeff Hardy is a troublemaker outside the ring. And people wonder why he's been released by the WWE, I think once or twice, because of his antics, because he's a troublemaker. As a matter of fact, he's been cut by the WWE twice because he couldn't handle the hectic schedule, and his trouble antics caught up with him. No, Andrew, he's not dating Velvet Sky. He's dating a former wrestler, a radio talk host named Reba Sky. No relation to Velvet Sky. That's not even, and Velvet Sky, that's not even her real name. So, no relations, Andrew. No relations whatsoever. But Jeff Hardy is coming back to Impact tonight. We'll see how long that lasts now that his brother has been released. So that's a lot going on there. Also tonight, you got Crimson going up against Kurt Angle. This will be a non-title match, but it could be a preview for the October pay-per-view Bound for Glory. That is, if Crimson wins the Bound for Glory Series Final 4 at the No Surrender pay-per-view, which is coming up in September. Kurt Angle said last week he was going after all the young guys. Kurt Angle obviously wants to make a point just to show that he still has it. He still has what it takes to be a wrestler and compete with the young guys. Kurt Angle's getting old. He's like in his 40s right now. And not only that, he wants to compete in the 2012 Olympics. Yeah, good luck with that. This ain't 1996 when you won the gold medal. Well, who knows what's going to happen between Crimson. He's never lost. He's never been pinned. He hasn't lost since debuting in Impact 7-8 months ago. And yet, I feel like it's the most forgotten wrestling undefeated streak. I mean, he's wrestling like almost every week, but nobody just seems to take notice of the guy. Not a whole lot of people taking notice. I just don't look at a Crimson as someone who's going to take it to the next level. But let's face it, it was time for Impact to start focusing on giving the young guys a push. Crimson, just a young, bright guy. They think highly of him. They think he's going places. So they're trying to show that they don't have to necessarily rely on the veterans. He's a good competitor, but it's just something about Crimson just not getting my attention that much. When you're undefeated, you're supposed to get noticed. You know, when I think of undefeated streaks in wrestling, I think of Samoa Joe when he first debuted in Impact. I think of Goldberg when he was in WCW. I noticed Goldberg obviously first and then Samoa Joe second. But I wasn't watching Impact during his undefeated streak. I started to become an Impact fan just a few short years ago. And I know who Samoa Joe is. He's a real good wrestler. He's obviously been one of the best superstars from the ground up. AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, they've had some good wrestlers. But I do remember they used to have a guy named Desmond Wolfe. It looked like they were building another good superstar and wrestler in the making, and yet he's no longer getting a push. He's not on television that much. So Crimson has his work cut out for him, and he's still injured from what happened to him a week prior. So is this is a good idea considering you don't want to afford any more injury heading into the No Surrender pay-per-view when you're going to be in the Final Four tournament to determine who faces the champion at Bound for Glory in October. You would think Crimson, maybe just slow down. Don't go after Kurt Angle. I mean, let him know how you feel, but let him know you're not going to back down. But try not to risk any more injury. Crimson is already banged up as it is. Now he wants to go up against Kurt Angle. And with the mood that Kurt Angle is in, good luck with that. Kurt Angle may be in his 40s, but he's the only 40-year-old wrestler that I can recall that's still in good shape and can perform at a high level. He's kind of like Shawn Michaels. He's getting old with age. He's in his 40s, and yet he still can compete. Look at Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania in the last couple of years against The Undertaker. You thought the guy was 24 instead of 44. Those were some great matches. Undertaker was in his 40s too, and he performed pretty damn good as well. But Kurt Angle, he's become a bad guy. My assumption is he's probably going to become a good guy right before he has to get ready to compete for the Olympics. He's training every day. So obviously he's not going to be the champion if he is eligible to compete in the 2012 Olympics. He'll have a maybe 3-4 month title reign, but he's not going to be, if he's going to be a champion that long, then it's probably going to be until he gets ready for the Olympics. That is if he is eligible to do so. He has to qualify, obviously. He hasn't done that mat type of wrestling since he won the medal back in 1996. And let's not forget about the injuries he has had throughout his wrestling career, including the neck. It was like a few years ago, before his WWE career ended, it looked like his career was going to be cut short. And yet, here he is. He's still wrestling. Now he's on Impact. He's on TNA. Oh, can I please talk about this real quick? Who in the hell wants to see Sting versus Hulk Hogan? Or Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan? This ain't the 1990s, ladies and gentlemen. Because Sting has been trying to get Hulk Hogan to wrestle in a match against Sting. Instead, Ric Flair decides to step up and say, you know what? I'll go up against you one-on-one instead. Now, Sting, Hogan, Flair, 3 legends in the wrestling business. I give them a lot of credit for what they've done in the wrestling industry. inside the ring and outside the ring. But why is it that Impact? This is the problem. Jeff and I was talking about this last week. Impact does not care that much. They don't want to give the young guys a push. It's all about the old guys. It's all about the veterans. I understand what Sting, Hogan, and Flair and what they've done and what they accomplished. More power to them. But they are getting old. And it comes time, you got to pass the torch. You got to pass the torch to the young superstars. My bad. Impact, they don't call themselves superstars. They call themselves wrestlers. Because as their slogan, they call it Wrestling Matters. They want to be known as wrestlers, not sports entertainers like the WWE. Yeah, I mean, Sting, Hogan, and Flair. Who really wants to watch them two fight in 40s and 50s? I mean, there just comes a point when you wrestle for way too long. Hogan, Flair, Hogan and Flair, they've been wrestling since the 1970s. Sting has been wrestling since the 1980s, I believe. There comes a time when you just gotta walk away. You gotta walk away, people. But that's not gonna happen. Impact are gonna hang on to those old guys for as long as they can. They're gonna hang on to those old guys for as long as they can. Because otherwise, the ratings ain't that good and they'll be out of business. Yes, that is born, that is born. It's they don't care about the young wrestlers. If they do, they will give them a chance. See, I love how people make fun of the WWE. The thing is with WWE, they are relying on their young talent. People talk about they rely on Cena and Punk and Randy Orton. They got some bright young superstars. Kofi Kingston, Evan Bourne, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, John Morrison. They got a lot of Wade Barrett, you know what I'm saying? They got the young superstars. Those wrestlers, they're going to be on for the next 5 to 10 years. So the next breed of wrestlers, they don't even have, if you think about it, WWE don't have a lot of old wrestlers. Cena is in his 30s. I think CM Punk is in his 30s too. Randy Orton, he's getting there in the 30s too. So Cena and Orton and Punk, you probably can see them wrestle for another 5, 10 more years. But in case Cena and Punk and Orton don't last long, at least they got some young wrestlers to feed on. You got Kofi Kingston, Evan Bourne, Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, Wade Barrett, Daniel Bryan, even though he's been in the indie circuit a lot longer before he came to the WWE. What I'm saying is, and that's what led to WCW's downfall, because they didn't build new talent. They relied on old washed up has-beens from the WWE. Look at the roster that's in the Impact roster right now. They rely on the old guys. They rely on the veterans. No disrespect to the veterans, but there comes a time when you just gotta stop. There comes a time when you gotta pass the torch. What does Hogan and Flair and Sting have left to prove? They know they're gonna go down as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Why is it that they just think they can still compete at their age? You don't see Shawn Michaels still wrestling. He's retired, a happy man. He is retired without being on a wheelchair. Look what happened with Edge, rated R superstar. Doctors told him, hey, you can't wrestle anymore. Edge was smart, came to his senses, and just walked away. So Impact, they don't have a lot of young superstars to fall back on for the next 5, 6 years. You expect Sting, Hogan, and Flair to still be around by then? And it's not like Hogan and Flair are wrestling that much to begin with. They just there just for the ratings, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, no matter how hard I try to give Impact, give me some new talent. Give me some new blood. Stop relying on the old guys. Give the young superstars a chance. At least give them a shot. If it works, good for you. If it don't, then go after someone else. Ebo says she gave up on TNA when Hogan came along. You know, it's Hogan, all he does is talk. So Ebo, obviously you're not missing out on much. The only good thing about Impact is their X division, and that they have a better women's division than the WWE. That's probably the only good things about it. They're heavyweight, they've got a bunch of old guys. Okay? I understand, respect my elders, but these elders, they think they can still do it, but when you look at them wrestle, you realize they should have retired 3-4 years ago. You'd think they'll be satisfied with the WWE careers, but no. They have a bone to pick with Vince McMahon, and they want to show that, hey, they still can compete in a high level. And let's not forget, let's face it, as Jeff and I was discussing last week, I think one of the reasons why they can't compete with WWE in the ratings is because they're not even the top show in their own brand, in their own channel, in their own network. On USA, yeah, you got the Sykes, you got the Covered Affairs, you got In Plain Sights, but WWE is still their top product. They get the most ratings out of any of those shows. On Sci-Fi, SmackDown is their top show. It's their number one priority. I know they got the horror and the paranormal TV shows and all that. I get that, but SmackDown just continues. They've been the number one show on Sci-Fi since debuting in November of last year. So obviously, if you want to compete with the WWE, at least have the number one show of your own network. At least WCW was number one on TBS and TNT. They were the top product, at least until basketball season came along. I think season-wise, depending on, the seasons and everything, like in the summer, and then when the NBA season is over, they're the number one show. When NBA was around, that was their number one show on the network. So you can't beat WWE if you can't even beat channels in your own network. It's where I'm getting at. And we talked about this last week on Triple Threat Wrestling Radio. You got to be number one in your own network if you want to compete with the WWE. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. And think about this for a minute. There's a lot of changes happening on Spike TV. And you wonder if Impact is even going to be on Spike for very long. I wasn't aware of this until probably after the first few episodes I started watching Impact. They have a no hitting woman rule. So in the wrestling storylines, the man can't lay a hand on a woman. USA Network doesn't have a rule that a man can't put a hand on a woman. Storyline or not, don't matter. I don't think that's affecting them that much. But just the fact that they're not even number one in their own network, because it's always been UFC. UFC has continued to grow. And it seems like Spike TV relies on the Ultimate Fighter. They rely on old UFC shows to be the higher ratings. It's more of a manly network than USA, I guess. WWE turned PG or whatever. Let's face it, they're not really PG when you let Stone Cold Steve Austin flipping birds and cursing and stuff, or Triple H cursing, or Cena's cursing. You know, let's just stop kidding ourselves. Oh, WWE turned soft. They turned PG. To me, it's not even about the cursing or profanity. It's about the body of work. It's about the wrestlers and the storylines and such. Yeah, Hogan is getting old, Andrew. We keep saying, Hogan. What does he left? What does he have left to prove? You would think you'll be satisfied. You put wrestling in the forefront. You made professional wrestling what it is today. You put it on the map. And all the thing, and what does he do in the wrestling ring? Boot. Yeah. To me, I find it funny because they say, oh, WWE turned soft. If you actually watch WWE, you see they curse too. They just don't curse that much because they have a more popular younger audience than TNA does. TNA is all about 18 years old or older. They focus more on the 18-year or older. WWE, they got the younger audience. They got kids. They got more kids in their attendance than Impact does. But then again, Impact, they don't compete in bigger stadiums and stuff. So, and they on Spike TV, which is more of a adult feel of a network. More like a manly network. More like it's just for grown folks. Now, Ebo brings up a good point. Hogan needs the paychecks to give to Linda. And since the kids and the kids, since they don't do anything either. Yeah. Brooke Hogan and her music career, how'd that work out? And what about Nick Hogan? He's out there doing nothing really. Nick Hogan ain't doing squat. So, he needs the money, Andrew. I guess he needs the money for child support. I don't know. I don't get too caught up in the wrestlers' personal lives, but since this is a wrestling show and we talk about wrestlers in general, then yeah, we ought to get into the business a little bit. I think they do share, both Nick and Brooke, but then again, that's funny because they don't live under the parents' roof anymore. They live in their own homes. Brooke got her own apartment in Miami somewhere, and Nick probably got his own apartment somewhere as well. So he's gonna need all the money he can get. It's no longer about love, pride, passion with Hogan. It's all about money. Okay? When an athlete says it's not about the money, guess what it's about, people? It's about the money. I don't care if you're a good human being or a bad human being, ego or not. When you say it's not about the money, it's about one thing and one thing only. It's about the money. Hogan probably has nothing else to do. You got that right. Well, he does have those commercials with Dan Marino. What's the name of those commercials he does with Dan Marino? No child support. They're older than 18. Yeah. Okay. Just wondering, because I know Brooke has her own apartment. I know Nick, he doesn't live under Hulk anymore. So yeah, it's not a child support issue. It's just the money issue. To pay up Linda. So that's pretty much about it. Alright, y'all, it is 9 o'clock here on the East Coast, which means I am done. I want to thank Ebo, Andrew, and Rocket Man for joining me, keeping me company in this Jeffless edition of Triple Threat Wrestling Radio. Don't forget, Rap Best of Sports Show will be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And of course, Chilling with Jeff and Kenny C's 200 show and 4-year anniversary. It's this Saturday, 3 hours long. 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific. Please check us out if you can. itmiradio.com. Check out the website, chillingbroadcasting.com. And next week, we got indie pro wrestler Tara Calloway for an interview. And we'll always give you your update on WWE and Impact. Thank you everyone for joining me. You all have a good weekend. See you this coming Saturday for the 4-year anniversary 200 show edition of Chilling with Jeff and Kenny C. And I'll see you next Thursday right here on Triple Threat Wrestling Radio. You all have a good evening and good night, wrestling fans. Good night.